Yeah. This is Rabbi Dr. Sid Weinberg, and I'm here with my assistant, E. I know it's been a while since we last broadcast one of these podcasts, but we're happy to be back. We were delayed by some COVID issues and things like that. And because E also went on a tour of hot tubs of the Midwest and is continuing to perfect his absolute mastery of Rubik's Cube. In any case, we are going to be moving forward today. First, I'd like to remind everybody that you should get your vaccination or your booster if it's 6 months since your vaccination, and be sure to do it so that you will be safe and you will be healthy. It is very important to continue to wear masks, especially inside, and to do what we can to stomp out this fourth surge of COVID with the Omicron variant. Things are changing all the time. The more we can do to get rid of this, the better our lives will be. Today, we're going to talk about the 10 plagues. Now, the plagues themselves are pretty famous, especially if you've seen any of the Moses movies out there, either the old one with Charlton Heston as Moses, or the newer versions like Prince of Egypt, which frankly tells the story a little bit better than the movie with Charlton Heston does. But in any case, when Pharaoh refuses to allow the Israelites to leave Egypt, Moses and God bring upon them the 10 plagues. And these plagues, which begin with the plague of blood, are a contest of powers. Now, the contest of powers is any time God or a representative of God goes against a false god or the representatives of a false god in a contest of miracles or magic. One of the most famous of these contests of powers actually takes place in the Book of Kings, where we find Elijah, who is going up against the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, which was a holy site for both of those worshipers. And in that regard, we find that Elijah defeats the priests of Baal. They are all executed, and the Israelites take over Mount Carmel and set it aside for the worship of the one true God. So this is something that we see in the Bible all the time. It is not unique to the contest of powers between Moses and the prophets of the gods of Egypt. It is a theme that we find throughout the Bible. Now, what is really ironic about the 10 plagues is that rather than trying to find the answer, the cure, the Egyptian magicians try to make more of whatever it is that is plaguing them at the time. For example, when Moses turns the water of the Nile into blood, the Egyptian magicians, rather than trying to find a way to turn the blood back into water, take other water and turn it into blood, thus not only prolonging the plague, but also making it even worse than Moses did. we find that the Egyptian magicians do this for the first 4 plagues. So let's see if we can remember what they are, E. You ready? Okay, so Dam, which is,
blood,
yeah, Sfaradea,
frogs,
Kinim,
lice,
and
dever,
which is,
the death of livestock.
okay. Well, let's take a look at lice, which I think may not have been the 3rd, but maybe the 4th plague. But okay, whatever it was, the Egyptian magicians could not replicate it. They couldn't do it. And so they say to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God, which means what? We are acknowledging what, E?
That Hashem did it.
That's right. And that Hashem is more powerful than our Egyptian gods, correct?
Yeah.
Because he can do it and we can't. After that, the Egyptian magicians fall out of the picture, and the plagues are no longer replicated by them. But think about for a minute how silly the Egyptian magicians were. It's like going to our scientists and saying to them today, well, let's see if we can do the same thing that happened wherever COVID started, and let's see if we can make more COVID. Would that be a smart thing to do?
Nope.
No, and nobody did that. Everybody went and tried to find a cure. At least a vaccine, at least a way to keep people alive from the pandemic. And so think about living in Egypt at the time of the plagues, and your king is not only doing redoing the plague, but making things worse for his own people by making more of it. And so we get a sense that maybe the Egyptian magicians were either not very smart or were trying to do tricks to impress their pharaoh with their power, not thinking about the lives of their people. So after the 4th plague, the Egyptian magicians acknowledge God and they are out of the picture. And at that point, we have something that happens that's very unique. And it says, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So Moses would go to Pharaoh and Pharaoh would say, yes, I'll let your people go. Either I'll let them go for 3 days, I'll let them go for a day in the desert, I'll give them a vacation, but they have to come back. You can't take your livestock. You can't take your women and children. There are all of these different things. But each time Pharaoh reneges on his promise. And the Torah says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. There are several possibilities for why God would do this. 2 of them are interesting. One of them is that the amount of punishment that Pharaoh and the Egyptians had earned by their enslavement of the Israelites had not yet been fulfilled. Remember, Pharaoh ordered the killing of all the male children, all the male babies who were born. And so that had yet to be expiated by the Egyptians. Only at the end of the plagues, when Pharaoh gets to the point of the death of the firstborn, is that sin expiated. The other possibility is that Pharaoh, while trying to be statesmanlike, deep in his heart, his real inclination was not to let them go. And so God merely strengthened his own inclination, his selfish inclination, rather than any pity that he might feel for the suffering of his people. So there's a lot more to the 10 plagues than simply the 10 drops of wine that we put on our plates at Pesach. And hopefully you'll be interested enough to take a look at some of the books that talk about this. Take a look at Rashi, take a look at some of the other poskim, and remember to stay safe and to stay healthy. On behalf of E and I, have a great Adar 1.